Feels like we haven't been able to breathe for 4 years.
I don't think anybody could have predicted how catastrophic it was. And I'm still, like, it's not over. I'm still terrified. I'm terrified about what's going to happen, like what he's going to do.
His hate, bigotry, anger, and lies have assaulted more than just the airwaves. He attempted to destroy the values that I thought we as a society held dear. I believe him to be the lowest, most dangerous, and inhumane person I have seen in my 60 years.
Our nation is now faced with an incredible amount of healing to do from a disease that we have refused to acknowledge and that Trump is but a symptom of.
This past few months, few years, all of it has just made me scream that, to me, the most important thing is dignity for human beings and human lives. And it blows my mind that empathy for humanity has become a political issue.
Okay, the last 4 years with Trump were terrifying, and I don't know how he got elected in the first place.
What Trump and Trumpism has meant to me over the last 4 years is the same thing it means to me today. That this country is ripe for fascism.
And so it's been 4 years of living with that constant fear of what he could possibly do next.
The fall of 2016 began a depressing collapse into Trump's hateful worldview. I thought he would be a clown and a simpleton, but he has shown himself to be a racist, acting only for his own enrichment. Climate change, the pandemic, racial justice, children's rights, religious freedoms, all of these have been gravely wounded, if not entirely scrapped. 4 years of devaluation of truth led by a man who cannot tell the truth.
Welcome. This is SOS, and this is our election recap, or reaction, or just This Is Us. Not the Hulu TV show, but our podcast. So, how you feeling, Alyssa?
I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling, I don't know if you can relate to this, but it comes in waves. It kind of feels like I'm in another dimension when I see news outlets talk about Biden winning.
Oh, I feel like I'm in another dimension when I hear him speaking and thinking this is our president speaking.
You're like,
and it's,
wait, he didn't call a mentally handicapped person,
right?
Or make fun of them. Wait, what?
Like, oh wait, this is what feels like 20 years ago, which really was only 4 years ago, and all of our life until 4 years ago, where president, like, even ones that I didn't agree with or didn't like or didn't vote for, whatever, it's like there still was a level of decorum, professionalism, and just, truth that came out of their mouths, and a certain level of experience that was had, and a certain level of policy that was talked about, that we just kind of, the last 4 years have put us all in this warped world of like expecting nothing but racist, misogynistic shit to be spewed, and just blatant lies to be told that are proven wrong instantly and still told. And then it's like, this is what it was like way back in the day.
He's speaking eloquently about unity, and kindness.
Oh, he actually called out using the words systemic racism. He called it that.
Oh, he didn't call a marginalized community that they were rapists.
Oh, and he didn't call white supremacists good people. Huh. Yeah, check a pulse. Check my temperature.
Hello?
Yeah, this is a bizarre world.
I just feel, yes, that is a good point. I feel like I'm in another dimension knowing that is our president and going to be our president. But I don't know what it is. And maybe it is because these fucking whiny babies keep screaming that it's a fraud, that maybe it's just kind of, I don't know, it's making it worse. Or it's like raining on a parade, basically.
I don't even... For me, it's like I'm just watching like from above. I'm just watching some bullshit happen where I'm like, I'm not letting it ruin my day. I'm just kind of watching at it and laughing and being like, but just show any proof of it.
But I think the detachment that I feel like maybe you're feeling too, and I agree with that, is maybe it comes from a place of like knowing that, yes, Biden won, yes, Trump lost, yes, this is going to be a different 4 years than the last 4 years. But that doesn't mean that our democracy isn't at stake and being threatened currently, and how far they're going to take this.
They being what, people that are upset about Trump
supporters,
losing.
Republican enablers in the Senate and the Republican leadership that's enabling him.
We could very well be in gridlock for the next 4 years with the Senate. We don't know what's going to happen.
No, it's very important to, if you're registered to vote in Georgia, please vote Ossoff and Warnock. And please, if you turn 18, even by January 5th, you can still vote.
Yeah.
And we'll have information for that at the end of the episode. But yes, it's really important to take Mitch McConnell out.
And I think it's really important because our country has gotten to such a divisive point. It's just so, we think that we're all just, it's us or them, and us and them are like thousands of miles apart. Like, we forget that there's a whole spectrum and realm of where people fall in our beliefs and our morals and all of these things. And so I do think it's important to say that, like, I speak for myself, but I know a lot of people agree. I don't think Biden is the second coming. I don't think he's like gonna fix everything and everything's great and he's the perfect candidate and that's exactly what this country needs. No, I do not. Like, I mean, I could go into a lot of things that I don't like, but the fact is there's zero competition. There's zero, people saying they don't want to get involved in politics because it's a two-party system, which is antiquated and we shouldn't have.
Valid.
It's all true. It's all true. Yes, but also that's the only thing that we have. And so participated in it or not, that's all that exists for us.
Absolutely.
And so and for me, honestly, what I'm the most moved by and excited about that hit me at my core was seeing a woman in that position, seeing Kamala up there, because I mean, at any cost in my mind, it was like, Trump needs to go. It's about Trump leaving more than it is about being excited about Biden. That's just a fact. But that's what happens when we have the illusion of choice. That is a two-party system. It is an illusion of choice.
Yeah.
But you, like I said, you participate or you don't.
Yeah, you have to. I think it's important to know what side is going to be doing more for you than the other, but that doesn't mean that that side doesn't need reform and doesn't need to figure out how to communicate that reform too, because it's like this country's so big and so divided that how to communicate issues that will benefit everybody, like Medicare for all and free education and everything that is so basic and is not a privilege. It is a right to have.
For Democrats and Republicans. It's not like Democrats are fighting for these things just for them and their families. It's like, this is literally should apply to everybody, regardless of where you live, who you voted for, what color your skin is, how rich your community is, or you are, or socioeconomic. Like, humanitarian rights should not be politicized, and they absolutely are.
Like masks.
Yeah. Healthcare should not be politicized. In our previous conversation with I-10, food should not be politicized. Everything's politicized in our world.
Yeah.
But if you really take it away and look back, take a step back and look at it, and you're just like, wait, but why would any human not fight for human rights?
Right.
It doesn't actually make sense. Now we just attach it to, oh, well, that's because you're blue or you're red.
Yeah. And it's important for Molly and I to talk about things like that, because we know that there's audience members that aren't like as left-leaning or leftist or liberal as Molly and I when it comes to this. And I feel like it's really important for us not to shy away from things like this, because this is who we are at our core. And it's also important for us to communicate as best we can of what can of the good that can change with new leadership and with an all blue Senate, first of all, and Democratic policies, because we're not We're not from the devil, as some
No.
Republicans think
And also, like,
Democrats are. I don't know.
Yeah, because, the same way that Democrats can make the mistake of thinking all Republicans are Trump supporters, because that's a very specific brand of Republicans, I understand. It's like nobody's a monolith. So when the blanket statements are made about liberals being so whatever, like what's the thing? Oh, so fragile or so sensitive.
Snowflakes.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's just like, look, we're all not as far away as we think we are when it comes down to it. There are the extremes, but those extremes are what everybody gets tagged as.
Yeah.
If you're a Republican, you're this extreme. If you're Democrat, you're this side of the extreme. But most of us are somewhere in the middle of that, and not talking like, oh, we're all moderates, but I mean, like, we're somewhere in between those two extremes.
Yeah, there's things that we all want. Like, I know you guys are like, oh my God, Biden's going to be president. That means there's going to be a shutdown. Masks are going to be mandated by law and all these things. I'm like, what? Why do you think that's going to be? Because we want the same things as you do. We want the world to get back to normal.
We want our families to stay alive.
Like, we want your family to stay alive.
Exactly.
We want to go back to work. We'd love that. We'd love not to, like, beg for stimulus checks every fucking week.
Like, I want to go out and see my friends and go to a concert and go to a packed room again. And, like, as antisocial as I can be, we're humans. I love, when I choose to, I do want to be able to go and be social and be in a group of people and feed off that energy. It's like, I also personally, like, it's not comfortable to wear. Who loves wearing a mask? That's not the point. It's like, this is what we do to help each other. This isn't, and ourselves. It's not, I mean, we could go all into that, but the number of people who I saw on YouTube and online over the last couple months at their individual town hall meetings,
crazy,
shouting, like, to the point where their voices crack. Of this one, I saw this man, he was like in his 40s, losing his damn mind. Like, his actual voice was cracking, like he was going through puberty, because he was shouting so hard. And he was saying, he's like, they're taking away our rights, like screaming and mad about wearing a mask. And some woman commented on it, and she's like, if this is how mad he is about being told to wear a mask, imagine how he would feel if the government started to tell him what to do with his body.
Yeah. Or imagine if he was fucking intubated, and he was hooked up to machines to help him breathe. Imagine that. And on that same vein, they're also using the whole I can't breathe.
Yep.
God. But in regards to masks, they're like, well, George Floyd couldn't breathe then, and now we can't breathe with these masks. And there has to be, and we're not qualified to really talk about it, but we can comment on it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
There's the psychology of the Trump supporter and the mask non-wearer.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why do they go hand in hand? Why aren't there, I'm not saying like, oh, liberals wear their mask 24/7, but it's more often than not you're going to see.
Yeah, it's a pattern.
Yes, it's a pattern. And did he start that? I don't think so. There has to be some sort of level of, like, and I think we were talking about this before we started recording. Victimization that is almost like a necessity to them to survive, I guess. Like, they see a group that's marginalized that is in need of protection and to talk about, and they're getting attention. And I feel like,
well, and they're uncomfortable if it's white people, because they're on the other side of that.
Right.
And it makes people so uncomfortable that they need to point out the way in which they're a victim.
Yeah.
Like, let me just find a way. Well, everything isn't good for me either. Sometimes how do you think that doctors go through literal 12-hour and longer surgeries wearing a mask? You think they can't breathe?
No. It's so stupid. And I feel like, yes, like you said, it makes them feel uncomfortable because they just realize they had biases of their own.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to confront that, and then B, live life where you can see protests happening. You can see, people are so upset. People are dying on the fucking street, and you're confronted with what? A mask that you have to put on.
If that's
you're
the biggest
reaching.
Well, and if that's the biggest infringement on your rights, which if you're a white man in a certain circumstance, that probably is, then that alone tells you of your privilege. And the whole conversation,
especially for white people, because COVID You are I don't know, I forget the statistics, but you can look it up. You are way more likely to die from this if you are black or brown.
Yep.
Like, talk about not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
And we don't want to generalize every Trump supporter, but when you see a pattern, it can, you can't ignore it, and it's going to upset you.
Yeah, you can't ignore it. And his complete, over the past years, all the ties that, I mean, he's made it very obvious that he's a racist, and that doesn't denounce white supremacy, and that he, in fact, welcomes their support of him, and all of these things that tie into the context of how this all looks then, and the message he sends to everybody. And, especially when there are younger kids, like high school, college age, voting age, but also like high school, middle schoolers who are all on their phones now. The news sources, if they choose to, that they have access to, we just would have TV when we went home, whatever channels our parents would watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so the good thing is kids can choose their own news sources, but also you have 12-year-olds on their phone, and maybe their friend is really influential, and their friend has all these views because their parents have all these views. And then it's just, my God, we live in such a tumultuous, fragile world, in the sense that the amount of information we have access to, while it's beautiful and we're lucky, is also terrifying and can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Especially in developing minds.
It's really interesting to think about things like that, and to know where we would be if we were kids now.
Oh my God.
Because there's so much content out there, with TikTok, Instagram, Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's really hard for me to have empathy for those that really don't not know anything about like the realities of mask wearing and how that actually does and can save lives. But all the way down to like how the election works.
Oh yeah.
Like, how can you be so, with everything that's out there, like, how can you be so stupid?
Well, because everything's out there.
We call elections, and how the electoral college works.
But that's because everything's out there, meaning anyone can put anything out there. And there are people who sound like they know what they're talking about, who are spewing absolute trash. And there are people that are, in terms of, I mean, that's how this starts. And then you have somebody in the highest figurehead position. I won't even say the highest position of power, because in reality, the president is a temporary position.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who spend decades in the government, and those are the people that have the real power. But president is a figurehead, and to the American people,
yeah,
you have a lot of influence. And if that very person has zero regard for actual facts, I mean, I never thought I'd see the day that would make me miss George Bush in office. But
no.
Here we are.
I know. Wait, what? I know. Well, at least he knew diplomacy, and that's like the best you can say about George Bush, right? Is that he knew diplomacy, and he knew how to keep at least American democracy.
Well, and he's a there's, don't get me wrong, career politicians are not. We
don't want to start wars for.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, he was a career politician, and while there are plenty of career politicians who are terrible people and have terrible morals, and that's. Mm-hmm. But my point is that my mom's an elementary school teacher. She had to go through years of schooling and training and being a student teacher, and to get actually to have the credentials to teach kindergarteners. Okay. And apparently our president you need more certification and qualifications to teach elementary school than you need to be the president of the United States. And that's what that actually showed us, like proved to us, is that, okay, you're a public figure, check. I guess you need that. You need money. Maybe you need to be white. You need to be a man. You need to be, but none of those things show. It actually proved that, like, when it comes to your actual experience in this realm, in politics at all, you don't need any qualifiers. I mean, you can't, to be a server, you have to go through, you can't even get hired at certain restaurants if you don't have multiple years experience to be a server.
No, you can have multiple rape allegations against yourself and be a police officer and a president.
Mm-hmm.
Sick. America, 10 out of 10. I just don't understand it at all. Like, I don't understand the hypocrisy. I don't understand how you can be so obtuse to facts. It's like you have to actually fight against it. You know, you have to actually like
actively.
You have to actively want to put earmuffs over your head.
Yeah, it's willful ignorance.
Yeah, because I don't understand how you can be a God-fearing Christian Republican and vote for a man who's paid for abortions, who cheated on his pregnant wife with a porn star, who grabs women by the pussy and brags about it to whoever's listening, who is in debt to his fucking 2-inch dick.
Also, who called countries in Africa shithole countries.
Shithole countries. He made fun of a handicapped person. He called Mexicans rapists.
He talked about McCain, saying he doesn't like.
Oh, fuck it. Veterans, POWs.
Yeah, I don't like.
I like my soldiers. What is it?
Not captured
Not
or
captured.
whatever. So when you really step back at it,
it's bullshit.
One of my opinions is that people who are just like non-questioning supporters of him, even at this point, especially at this point, you know, in 2016. Y'all were dumb, but maybe you were just ignorant to it. But now you are choosing, if you still like stand by his side, you are racist, which in 2016, I would have said probably most Trump supporters are pretty racist, but that was like, but not all, because some are just like, just don't give a fuck and just want to change and just want to shake it up. And but 4 years later, if you voted for him at this point, I do have to say, you are racist. And also you are actively choosing to ignore certain facts, and that is a conscious choice at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't have respect for that. Oh, and I didn't set it to the right setting. But it's just a whole, what I do wish for people is that, because nobody's gonna, if everybody thought like me, this would be a shithole country.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what I wish is it actually, look.
No, we would have free healthcare.
Yeah. It would look pretty great.
Yeah.
But also, my only hope is that people actually in life, that everyone is making an effort to evolve themselves. Wherever you stand, you don't have to be on my side or my page or whatever. But if I see that you are like willing to seek out conversations that make you uncomfortable, willing to be wrong, willing to learn new information and let it change your opinion.
Yeah.
Willing to, and they're all hard things to do on any side. It's hard. It's hard if I learn something that, like when I learn things about some certain things, decisions Obama made, that I'm like, fuck, there's no good way to look at this. Like,
no, yeah.
But, and it sucks. It really sucks, but it doesn't mean it's a practice. But the more we learn to do that and to remove our ego from it and to be like, okay, if I change my opinion about this person, it's not a blow to my ego. It's actually a sign of intelligence because I'm learning to adapt based on new information I gain. And when I see people doing that, I have respect for that. And I know there are Trump people who voted for him before who really in the last 4 years were like, wow, I was wrong. I regret that. And I'm not going to do that again. I have mad respect for you because it's hard to have your world shaken and the realities you thought were true be proven wrong.
You know what I think that fails us on that front when it comes to like, because I think about that too, because there was some things that like Obama did that I actually found out after he left about like, I knew about drone strikes, but it like, you know, there's things that weren't great. But things that you need context for, like, yes, you can say they started the cages. I don't want to hear one motherfucker talk about these cages though one more time because context matters. They were never separating families. It was never to the degree in which they are holding people there now. It was never built to hold the amount of people they're holding now. Again, never separated families, and no one was there for more than 72 hours. And that's important to know. But there's other things besides that that aren't great. And I feel what fails us is the two-party system.
Exactly.
Because on that front, yeah, I don't mean a lot of fronts, but like, because I think about it this way, like, let's say Obama was president now, when there's way more access to information, you know, and like, would we be able to be as critical, you know, with Obama after, and then let's say Trump was president. This is like Trump and then Obama or something like that.
Okay.
Or we have Biden. Maybe it'll be similar. But will we be able to be as critical? Because won't that give fodder to the other side to be like, see, fuck you. Look at your president fucking up and doing this.
Well, that's definitely going to happen, but it's a matter of the lesser of two evils, which is the downfall of a two-party system where it's like, I know there's going to be things that this administration does that I don't think are great. But,
Right.
And yeah, the people of a lower mindset are going to be like, see, but like, you can't stoop to that. It's like,
There's so many people of a lower mindset.
right. But like they're children and I live above that.
Yeah, I know. I'm afraid. I'm like, I wonder. It's like, that'd be so great if we can just be openly critical over the president that we support. You know what I mean? And be like, let's hold them accountable.
Yeah, exactly.
Ask those tough questions when it comes to debates or interviews or whatever.
Yeah.
What do I say? Conferences, press conferences, and but I fear that, and maybe that's like the other side too. But they became way extreme of it. That like once you start being critical and you allow the media to run that way, because the media already fucking everything's theater to media, that it just makes it worse. It just makes it like that much easier for the other side because there's only two. To turn it around and be like, then fuck it, we're going back to Republicans.
We've created this very childish system in this country where it literally sets us up for sibling rivalry.
Yeah, because then we have to just be like, and that's not good for Democrats, liberals, whatever, to be like, la, 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 at least he's better than Trump.
No,
that doesn't help.
No, and I actually don't, time will tell, but I don't see myself feeling that way. I think no matter what, it's better to have Biden in than Trump.
Yeah.
But I do feel like prepared for there to be a lot of things where I'm like, that's not what I would do. That's not what but nothing is ever going to be perfect, especially in our fucked up, colonized, racist country.
Yeah.
But all we can do is take the next best step. And if best being what's available, because, and I know we're about to wrap it up soon, but the title of this episode is There is Glass Everywhere. And I do want to spend some time talking about Kamala being there because we know when Biden and Kamala gave their speeches, what was it, last Saturday or?
A week ago.
I guess I didn't give it much thought, so I didn't really have an expectation, but I got deeply emotional when she came out and she was speaking and like tearing up, maybe like in a cute little way. And then I was full on crying for a couple minutes. And I was just like, I'm ugly crying. This hits me at my core to see. I remember watching all the election, watching as a kid, every time we had a new president and my parents would be happy or not happy. And it didn't matter. But I remember always looking at the TV and being like, I'm not in this picture though. Like, however little I was, it's not like I was deeply always putting it that way in my mind. But I do remember being like, it's always men. I don't really fit in. This is like a different world. This isn't a world for me. And seeing her get up there and like, and having her family on stage and just the things she was saying, it completely gives me chills. It almost brings me to tears even now. And imagining all these girls. I saw a video the next day of girls in a classroom. I don't know where, somewhere in the country.
Brown girl.
Yes.
What do you see? I see a vice president looking at
like
me.
That looks like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was this teacher having the kids recite that. And it was just like subliminal messages, whether it's very literal and you have conversations with your parents growing up and you're told you can or can't do things, or you just observe. You observe. We learned very young on the playground that we're not expected to be as fast as the boys are. You're going to cry more. You just learn things that the society.
You're too emotional for those responsibilities.
Society tells you this about yourself. And man, I lost it. Seeing her up there, I was like, the little girl in me, just everything came out and I was like, oh my God.
I just felt so out of body watching that. I think it was like one of those where I was watching myself because I'm just like, I just think maybe, I don't know how I'm processing this. And I think maybe I'm still on that journey.
Yeah.
Because, and I think that's why I just giggle and drink wine to cope. But like, it just is so, I feel like I had so much PTSD from 2016 that like, well, okay, so I believe her name is Abby Phillip. She's a great reporter for CNN. And she had said that she's a black woman herself. And she had said, she's like, don't forget, Trump started his presidency on a racist birther lie, and it's ending with a black woman in the White House.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is how we leave you today. To glass ceilings being broken.
I mean, like, it's fucking
and orange
amazing.
racists going back into their holes.
Oh my God. Wait, are we out of time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, before we go, I need everyone to know, how much time do we have left? Okay, none. Sorry, guys. We'll talk about it maybe sometimes later. But Four Seasons Landscape is amazing, and please look up Dean Browning. I'll tell you after the show. Dean Browning, please look that up. But I'm going to basically give you guys this little... because Stacey Abrams is a queen, a goddess, and got Georgia blue. But we need to make it even more blue by donating to her organization called Fair Fight. And voter suppression of voters of color and young voters is a scourge our country faces in states across the nation. And Georgia is one of them. Their 2018 elections shone a bright light on the issue with elections that were rife with mismanagement, irregularities, unbelievably long lines, and more, exposing both recent and also decades-long actions and inactions by the state to thwart the right to vote. Georgians and Americans are fighting back. Fair Fight Action engages in voter mobilization and education activities and advocates for progressive issues. In addition, Fair Fight Action has mounted significant programs to combat voter suppression in Georgia and nationally. Please donate and learn more at fairfight.com because we need to get those Senate seats flipped in Georgia.
And I'm Molly Cottrell.
I'm Alyssa Rosano. Follow us on YouTube and at the SOS Pod Instagram. Rate us 5 stars. We love you guys. And here's to turning meltdowns into magic.